teaching Jesus is bringing a new meaning to what Sabbath is what in Hebrew they call Shabbat. Uh, so one of the themes that Jesus is really going to tackle during his ministry is the interpretation of the law of Moses. And some of the things that had really been misinterpreted and overemphasized was Sabbath. And it was his role to bring the proper meaning of Sabbath through his life and through his teachings. So, through the interactions of the people that Jesus comes across, this theme is going to find a new meaning and very renewed meaning. And Sabbath is a very wide topic. And since I'm not teaching about the principles of Sabbath, I will just stick thoroughly on the events of the movie, The Chosen, season 1, episode 2. And when we have time to talk more about the Sabbath and what it really means, then we can visit Paul's teaching as he was writing to the church in Rome, and also visit what the writer of the book of Hebrews talks about when he says, there is therefore another rest. Other than the one we are practicing, there is another rest that we need to really seek. So in the characters of The Chosen, and I've kept on saying that I have admired the work done by this group, The Chosen. Let's just be on the first one. I've really admired on the work done on this series because one, they have tried to bridge gaps between one event and the other, because as the evangelists were recording, they recorded the events that carried some meaning to what message they carried. For example, we know that Matthew is the oldest of all the gospel, and Mark was written by the evangelist Mark, wanting to prepare something to present to the Gentiles so that he can, those who were witnesses to the Gentiles have proven a true record of the events of Jesus Christ. And Matthew also, being an apostle of Jesus Christ, has a record that is well kept, well documented, and which is favorable for the Jews audience, because Jews were very thorough about the law and about what is written, the proper recording and everything, the actuality of everything. So Matthew is a record keeper, and he is going to write a gospel soon after, and his gospel is going to mainly be addressed to the Jewish audience, convincing them that there is no need of waiting for another Messiah. The Messiah has come. And basically, this is why Matthew will begin by genealogy, because genealogy for a Jew is very, very important. So, on The Chosen, we will emphasize on the character of one lady, Mary Magdalene, who finds true rest. All the other characters that we are going to talk about, they have encountered Jesus. We can move to 2. All the other have encountered Jesus in their own way, but they haven't found rest as we speak. But this lady, Mary Magdalene, as we shall see, she will have encountered rest. Shabbat is another word for to cease from work or to rest. It's just a word of telling people, hey, you need to stop from working. You need to take rest. And the meaning that is interpreted from the Old Testament literature, and especially those who have followed me, you know that I talk about literatures that support the Jewish teachings. Some of their literatures are called Mishnah and Talmud. they had a deeper teaching about what Shabbat meant. So Shabbat was a moment of rest. It is just taking time to pause and, like you are being recharged, you are being regenerated, renewed. That pausing itself is going to do some good work in rejuvenating the person and making him a better product of what God intends in our lives. Then the second thing, and which is very important about Sabbath, is to bring the connectedness between families and connectedness between community. So it's another opportunity that we build our bonds together. If really we find rest in God, then it must drive us to want to build a connectiveness between families, connectiveness between community. And this is why in part of my teachings you hear, I emphasize a lot about family worshiping together, family seeing worship together, family reading from the same perspective. If we are not connected as a family, then part of us has not discovered the true rest. Then the third thing that Shabbat teaches is that it is a moment to look back and to be grateful of the blessings that we have enjoyed. And therefore, if drawing from that teaching, we rest because God rested. That is number one. We rest because God rested. We rest because resting reminds us that despite the torture of the overburdening that the devil has on us as a product of sin, then God intervenes in our lives and helps us to find rest. Just like the Israelites, they were in bondage for 400 years. They were tortured by labor that never benefited them per se. It benefited another nation. Then God interjected in history and he brought them rest. So that meaning of God resting and God intervening, interjecting into history to bring humanity a moment of rest is a reminder that every week we must commemorate. We must carry with us. We must be men and women of rest. Just like I'm saying, I don't want to talk much about rest. When we talk about meaning, we'll talk about days and what days means, because many people have different views about it. Then the second thing is that rest must be extended to the community. Our rest must connect us to those others who are near us. It bridges gaps between people. It brings people together. It is a community worship time. And when we talk about community, I will say, like I've said before, that I don't think we do church the right way Jesus intended, because church was meant to be a movement of neighbors coming together, not people of like minds. Now we are doing church in an essence of people of like minds.
Can't hear.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You have been frozen.
Yes, I don't know why it has done that. I've seen it on my screen. Okay. So if that connectedness does not bring us to our neighbors, then it is faulty. It must bring us to those who are close to us. And if that worship is not something we can do on Sunday, but we must make it part of our livelihood, that we connect with our neighbors, because we are emissaries of Jesus Christ, first on the premises that we call our neighborhood. The third thing is that this rest must connect us with our families. It brings and makes our bond of the fellowship to be more tight. And therefore, it's good to understand what is it that God really intended when he brought about Sabbath. Law, which Jesus says, I am the law. Jesus says, I am the law. He is the fulfillment of all the law. When he is saying, I am the law, he has come to bring the meaning for which the law represented. Because like Paul says, that the law was a signboard directing people to what God intends concerning their lives. We go to clip 3. Now, like I had said, one of the people who finds rest is Mary Magdalene. And how does she find rest? Because she has met Jesus, and Jesus has brought a change in all that oppressed her, all her fears, like we saw last week. You know, she has been tormented all her lives with fears that have driven her to want to live a careless, carefree life. And Jesus is visiting her in the red corner and going to deliver her, to set her free. So she's going to be the first victim, according to the creators of the Chosen, to experience this Sabbath, this rest. She experienced rest. And you can imagine that all her life she has never led or, hosted Sabbath, other than the times that she did when she was young with her father. When she is an adult, the father died. When she was an adult, she has never been able to experience Sabbath. This is going to be her first Sabbath. And actually, as you see in the picture, she is learning from others how Sabbath is going to be carried out. So one of the things about Sabbath is the literature that it carried. It was about a meal, sharing a meal, just like I'm saying, it is bringing the neighbors, the community. The family must be present, and you see this emphasis with the wife of Peter, emphasizing to Peter that he doesn't need to go fishing during Sabbath, because that's a family time. It was very key, necessary time for the family to come together. So Mary Magdalene, with all that matters in her, because we do not have a record of whether she had any other family, her family becomes her neighbors and people of the same faith. She is going to celebrate her first Sabbath as a delivered lady in her house, her being the host. So deliverance brings us into an experience. When we find Christ, and find Christ in the actuality of who Christ is, then we are freed to enjoy his Sabbath. The next clip. Then we have this gentleman, the three gentlemen that I will talk about, who they are looking for rest, but they have not found rest. One of these gentlemen is Matthew. Matthew, according to the creators of the story, is a tax collector. And what is presented behind the story is that being a tax collector, it must have alienated him from the family and from the community. He is compromising with the Roman oppressors so that she can take monetary gain out of it, so that she has power, she has privilege to carry with him, to live a lavish life. But that he pays heavily, because he is going to be despised by his community. He is going to be despised by his family. So Matthew, in this movie, he is visiting the Roman praetor Aquinas, so that he can verify that Simon Peter has actually been forgiven his debt of tax. Because according to Matthew, he still owes. He owes a number of days that he is unable to pay. So he is going to visit Quintius so that he can know for sure whether Peter is going to be freed. But then we learn that Peter has struck a deal with the Quintus so that he can become a spy for the Roman government. So both of them are a shadow of Roman government, according to the creators of the movie. So Matthew is acting for the Roman openly. Peter is hiding, acting for the Roman government. It's a means of survival for them. Because like I said last time, being a colony of Romans brought about a lot of oppression for the Jews. Because one of the things that they had to do, they had to pay tax. Every male had to present a tax every day. There is tax that you had to pass by and pay, and it had to be recorded. If you don't pay for a day, it is a debt, and you have to work and work again so that you cover that debt. So that operation was much. Survival was so difficult, even providing for the family, being able to put up a home. It was a difficult thing. And they were really looking forward for the time that the Messiah would come and deliver them from this kind of oppression. So it's a survival gimmick for both Matthew and Peter also, who has a huge debt, unable to pay, even compromising to go fishing on Sunday, so that on Sabbath, sorry, not Sunday, on Sabbath, which is Friday night, he can go and spy for the Roman authorities, for people who are quietly sneaking into the sea to do fishing, because the fish they catch for that day, it is going to be tax-free. At least they will get something extra for themselves. And when he is sneaking to go and spy, we realize that he also realizes that his friends, James and John, are also fishing on a Sabbath. You know, they were all doing what is unlawful. They were breaking the law, yet they are the law keepers. So this is a confusion. We purport that we have rest, yet we have no rest. They are restless people. They are going to wrestle with the demons that are haunting them in very different ways, you know, fighting their own ways, their own battles. But Jesus is going to meet every one of them and set them free. One of the things that is going to free them, to make them aware that they have been freed, is because those haunting fears of the requirements that the oppressors had put on them, Jesus is going to set them free. The miracle that is going to happen with the fish, as we shall see in the next 1 or 2 episodes, with Peter and Andrew, is going to be freedom for them. And after that, they can become disciples of Jesus Christ. And once they leave the fishing industry, they are going to be freed from that requirement. We go to the next claim because of time. Then, as I come to talk about the Sabbath, the observance of a Sabbath, I want to mention that Nicodemus also is one of those people who is also looking for freedom, and he is not finding it. He is not finding it. But the goodness with Nicodemus is that he is seeking for meaning. He is looking for meaning. He is finding it. He is thinking deeper than other people. He is not out to oppose Jesus. He is listening to every of the things that Jesus is doing. And one of the things that he does is to investigate how Jesus was able to set free Mary. And because he himself was not able to set Mary free out of all his observance of the Jewish religion, all he had learned and known, he was not able. And he said, only God can set her free. When she was set free, now she is finding this person who is representing God, who has set Nicodemus free. So during Sabbath, Nicodemus is leading Sabbath in his own house. He is going to lead a group of his students. He is going to observe the law. He is a law observer. He is very keen. But above all the other of his students, as we shall see in the movie in the coming episodes, he alone is going to go into a discovery journey, trying to find meaning out of all the prophecies and trying to understand the ministry of Jesus in a deeper way so that he connects himself. And we see this, that the meaning he drew really converted him into the person we see going to get the body of Jesus after his crucifixion, and together with Joseph, they buried Jesus. Or during the book of Acts, the Sanhedrin sitting down and they want to reprimand the apostles, and he stands with greater wisdom and he says that if whatever they are representing is from God, we are fighting against God. You know, so he is of someone who has some essence of who Jesus is. His celebration of Sabbath has some meaning he is getting some freedom because he is in a journey of discovery. And one lesson that we need to learn from Nicodemus is that we must make ourselves students wanting to learn more of the things that really matter to make us, enjoy the freedom that comes through Jesus Christ. Many people are in church today, but they have never enjoyed freedom because they don't care about the things that matter to God. They are just there because of a religious observance. And God is not after our religious observance. He is about the process itself, how it is transforming us and making us obedient children of God. And then we see Peter violating Sabbath. He is a hypocrite, I could say. He is a hypocrite because he is a Jew. He is violating Sabbath. He is also a hypocrite because he is going to spy for the Romans. And as we shall see future, he is going to look down on Matthew because Matthew was a compromiser and he himself was also compromised. And this is why Jesus has a theme that he carries with Peter. How many times do you forgive? He wants to teach him about forgiveness. He wants to teach him that you must learn to forgive. You must learn to forgive. And actually in the Lord's Prayer, he taught them that just like we have found forgiveness, we must also forgive all others who have violated, our relationships. So actually, Peter is a lesson to us that we can live a hypocritical life. We can live a hypocritical life and never find rest. And Peter not finding rest is going to lead him to live a very luxurious life. He is going to live a life, a don't care life, because it gets to a point it doesn't matter whatever happens. You can even hear some suggestions that they see that they can run away to go to Egypt. But he says that even in Egypt, the Roman is the one who is ruling there. So how am I going to run away and not be caught by the Romans themselves? So, when we become hypocritical, we bring ourselves into a bondage of things that we cannot resolve. It's just like we are coiling our lives into a pole that we cannot be able to uncoil. We need someone to help us to come and uncoil. And this person is Jesus. Jesus can bring the true meaning of rest, the true meaning of ceasing to labor, to toil in vain, so that we may find peace in him. We find Matthew. Matthew, like I said last time, he is a character that I admire, and many people have been voting Matthew as their best character, and it has made him the main character in the movie series. So he's the attraction. He's the center of attraction of every person who sees. In fact, the person who chose a coded autistic person, he really did a good job, because to really prove that Matthew was able to keep details, because autistic people, they are very thorough. They are very thorough with what they do. He was very coded in terms of keeping record of the things that he has done. But Matthew has made up his mind that since this religion does not make ends meet, I am going to surrender totally to the Roman authority. And he has made that choice, and he wants to live faithful to the Roman authority. He doesn't mind, because during the Sabbath, he is going to celebrate a Sabbath with his dog. You can imagine a Jew, the only community, the only family around him is a dog. And you know what that means for a Jew. It means that you are disalienated, you are cursed, you are an accursed person. You are kicked out of the community, and just like we have read in the book of Exodus, those people who do not observe Sabbath, they must be excommunicated from the society of the Jewish people. So Matthew is a victim of that. He has been kicked out, and he cannot be welcomed in anyone's home, not even in his own family. So the fellowship he has in the evening, especially for sabbatical evening meal, it is him and his dog. They eat together. So you can see that he represents a clique of people who are carefree, don't care. They don't care. When you tell them there is a life after death, they don't care. When you tell them God requires that we lead a life that is pleasing Him, they don't care. They get to a point of not caring. The problems put them into a place of not caring. But Jesus understands every of these occurrences that are happening around the characters that we see, who are also of the characters of the gospel, and He is going to deliver them in a very, very special way. Finally, for today, as we learn about Sabbath, we see Jesus, coming to stamp the authority of true Sabbath, true meaning of Sabbath in Mary's house. She's going to be an uninvited guest in Mary's house, Mary's home, and together with the neighbors who have come, they are going to share a meal. And for the first time, Mary is going to lead the sabbatical worship because she is freed. Once you are freed, you are free indeed. That's what Jesus said. When the Son of Man sets you free, you are free indeed. So Mary is going to lead worship, and Jesus is going to be an observer in the mealtime, seeing the product of someone who really understands what Sabbath is. Finally, I want to say this. Sabbath is not about a day. Sabbath is about an experience. Sabbath is about an experience, and that experience begins with our transformation, the transformation we receive from Jesus Himself, interacting with Jesus. I have told people over and over again, if you want to understand the meaning of Sabbath, Sabbath means that you do the things that care within the parameters that are set. You are worshiping God. You are building bridges within family. You are building bridges within society. If you are covering within those things, building bridges, worshiping God within the community, worshiping God within the family, or worshiping God and honoring Him in whatever you do, it may be even giving service to others. The laws that were broken down by Moses, the 613, they may not have effect on you as long as you do not violate the actual Sabbath, which is representing others with your own rest. It is allowing others to have a taste of your rest, giving other people your rest, sharing that rest, that freedom you have. Let other people have it. If it is a rest that is meaningful, if it is a rest that has brought you joy, if it is a rest that is attractive, then you can sell it to others. You can invite others into this rest. And may the Lord bless us, and may He keep us for the rest of this Sunday worship. Let us pray.